Welcome in, baby. We talking about Texas, and we talking if they are contenders, which they certainly are. I'm starting off with this one. Obviously, our resident Hook 'em Horns, Longhorns fan.
Longhorn.
Yeah.
Why are you arguing against that?
I don't know. I don't even know what that means.
You have a Longhorn.
All right, yeah, I'll take it. Sure.
Yeah, run it, Mike.
Pinocchio, baby.
Whoa.
So, a grower,
So
not
it
a
starts just.
Oh yeah.
Or
Okay.
you just
Oh, yeah.
lying about having
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey, you see
Actually, that lines up well with the Longhorns. Sorry,
Go ahead.
Wow, that's funny. All right, so do I think that we are contenders? I
you think they're
certainly
contenders,
do.
Mike? Do you think so?
I think
What do you think?
that every year since Sark has been our head coach, I think we have
Disappointment.
been getting a lot better, almost exponentially better. We have
kinda
gone
tough,
from.
Let him
Oh, sorry.
speak.
Actually, you're right. I shouldn't interrupt you.
I mean, we've gone from going just over 500 to winning like 9 games, and then I think 10, and then we just won 11, made it to a championship, and then are now making it into a playoffs. I think Texas has only looked to
12
be
team playoff, but yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. I still think that we are getting better every single year. I think our team has a ridiculous amount of talent. Obviously, one of them being the Outlander Trophy winner and Lombardi Trophy winner, Kelvin Banks, who is an obvious first rounder, probably our highest
100%.
NFL draft pick
100%.
going for sure. In our secondary, we also have the Thorpe winner, which is the best defensive back,
Jesus.
Jahdae Barron, won over Malachi Starks and
Caleb Downs.
Caleb Downs, on OSU. I think we have talent everywhere. And although we have had our faults for sure, especially notably like in that Georgia game, we felt complacent. We started running the ball a lot more in the second half. When we had our lead, we did not keep our foot on the gas. I think that not only that, but we were also getting a lot of penalties pre-snap, which is just discipline. We got to get better on that. I think also the fact that we're getting back Kelvin Banks Jr. is massive. He was out for the past game or the SEC championship game against Georgia. We were running through a starting true freshman, which obviously is going to hurt us a little bit, not having your best player on offense. I think, in my personal opinion, Quinn over that Georgia game showed me that he has the ability to actually make the passes needed. I think our receivers like Matthew Golden and just everyone else on talent wise is unbelievable. I think they could carry us. I think Trey Wisner is fantastic, especially when our O-line is healthy and can hold up. I think Jake Majors is a fantastic center who can actually just really move around a lot of defenses. And I think I trust in our coaching, and I think I trust in Sark's ability to put all the pieces together. We've had games where we've won it off of the true running game, and we've had games where Quinn has done a lot more than he has in other games. I think we have the ability to put it together. I think having the first game in playoffs be at a home game, start to build momentum is very exciting. I think it's hanging over our head, knowing that we could be in Georgia's spot, in everybody's opinion, is the easier side of the bracket. We put ourselves in that situation. I think it's only more motivating, and hook 'em horns, baby. I think we actually can win it all.
There you have it. It's quickly. I'm gonna let Mario go next.
You can.
But I just want to clarify here. What about the Georgia game performance from Quinn showed you that he has what it takes to make the big throws? Because
Through 2
I had
touchdowns and 350 yards.
No, so just statistically, I had nothing. When I looked at
You're
the game,
also
and I want to go last on this one. But when I looked at the
Yeah.
game, that game showed me the exact opposite about Quinn. So that's why I was surprised. I was like, we watched the same game, but I guess took away the complete two opposite.
So I mean, in my personal opinion, when we're looking at the George game,
Yeah.
I think we lost it not because of Quinn. I think we lost it because of the 2 key missed field goals. And I think, again, especially when we're looking at the second half, when we're up by 3, we had a lot more run heavy of a play calling. And I think because we weren't, doing those 15 to 20 yard passes to like Matthew Golden and trying to get it into DeAndre Moore's hands. Obviously, they had some big misses there as well, which were very crucial. They were just drop balls. You can't really that's not Quinn's fault. I think they were literally in their hands, and you can't do that. I think the interceptions came early. It wasn't good. Can't really excuse them, but again, I think there was enough positive in that game that showed me, I trust that he's our guy to take us into this playoffs. Again, not excusing his interceptions, but I like what I saw.
You like what you saw.
I like what I saw.
That's fair enough. Mario, is Texas a contender?
Texas is, and I've said this before, no matter what I say, if they're not a contender, it doesn't mean they're not a good team. But Texas, to me, is not a contender, and I will tell you why. They're kind of in that same breath of Ohio State. I think Texas is a worse team than Ohio State, not by like a huge margin, but slightly worse. I like Texas's defense. Their offense, to me, is just what's really fallen off, and they just haven't found basically any semblance of ways to pick it back up ever since Quinn has returned from injury. This Texas team, we saw them early in the season against Georgia in their first real test. Quinn and Texas just overall shit the bed in the first half. They couldn't recover. They had a little bit of a push in the second half, but it just wasn't enough. I mean, Georgia kind of had control of that game at that point. And then again, whenever there's been any somewhat decent team, it's always a close game. Comes down to the wire. They have another big test against Georgia again, and lo and behold, they lose, even with Carson Beck not playing the second half. It just comes down to, and that's why the one thing you said about Quinn showing you he has what it takes to make the throws to win you a natty, like that was I agree with Tyler. It showed me basically the exact opposite, because when I saw that, it was just another game again, basically just like stamping on the impression I have of Quinn Ewers, which is when the game's on the line, when it's a big game, when it's okay, lead the drive to go win the game, we're losing, you go make the plays. He's not that guy. I think if you put him in good situations, he's a good football player, and I do think Sark's a good coach and is a good play caller, and he does his best to put Quinn and this offense in advantageous situations. And as long as you can kind of put him out of harm's way where he doesn't need to make any difficult reads or anything, it's just like 1 to 2 reads or throw it away. Like Quinn, he's a game manager, you know what I mean? And if Texas is off to a hot start, he can manage that game to keep them afloat. But anytime he has to go win the game, I mean, there's a 0% chance I'd ever trust this team. You even heard it from Mike, actually, like his words exactly when he was like, I think Quinn can make the throws, and we all saw him throw interceptions or whatever. And then he lists a bunch of players, and multiple times after he listed those players said, I think he can carry us. I think subconsciously, Quinn can't carry you. Those guys all have, like your team as well, like I'm just saying your team as a unit all has to be playing at their absolute best for you guys
to contend,
because Quinn is not a person that's going to necessarily elevate the team. Quinn's going to be Quinn. If all your players play phenomenal and then Quinn does what Quinn does, there's a good chance you'll win a lot of football games. There is. I mean, you guys are that talented. The thing is, what happens when your defense all of a sudden in the second half starts slipping? What happens when Quinn needs to extend drives? That's when your team is in danger. That's not a team that I want to bet on. Also, their run game, Wisner, I'm a big fan of him. I mean, he's a tough dude, but he's small, he's undersized. You see him in some games get completely shut out.
I mean, the Georgia game, the rushing offense was one of the worst.
That's what I'm saying. In certain big games, it's happened multiple times. Even like games like A&M and stuff, like he was getting held for a little bit. I don't know. It's just not a team that you can really put your money on to say they're going to go win. Now, can they make it hard? Yes. I mean, they're a good team. So
all right.
So that's fine. Also, just to clarify something, because I don't want to get misconstrued. When I say that what I saw in the George game showed me that like Quinn has what it takes to carry us, I don't mean that in he's going to be the like guy on our offense. What I mean by that is I think if we can, similarly to what I was saying in the second half of the George game, is if we could keep balance. If we're not only running through Quinn, but we can also be effective with the run game. I think he can carry his weight that's necessary. I don't think he's going to be a guy to carry the weight of the team.
So kind of like what Mario
said.
Exactly.
I completely agree with that.
Okay, Ryan.
I actually think they're contenders, but not for the reason you'd think. It's because they're going to be double-digit favorites in their first 2 games, and I think that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Because momentum building.
Not even momentum. You give me a top 4 team, they're contender. Like if you're in the semifinals or whatever it is, you're a contender, in my opinion.
Ryan's a big. He's not a fan of the whole Arizona State Boise State.
Oh yeah, I don't. In a universe where your second game has a bigger spread than your first game,
that's crazy.
Besides maybe
it's
a couple
crazy.
anomalies every couple of years, the fact that it's going to happen twice this year is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life, and I'm never going to get over it. But regardless, I think Texas is contenders because they have. You can call Clemson a competitive game. I think they're the best team they're playing outside of Georgia this year by a mile because your schedule is easy, and I don't think you played hard teams.
Yep.
So I think Clemson's going to really be a tough spot to start, and how you guys start that first quarter is everything I'm going to need to know for the rest of the game. How you're dialing up plays, if Quinn's throwing quick screens, getting the ball out of his hands, not doing anything crazy, switching up your running backs, just confusing Clemson a little bit. We'll switch. It's just that first game, but I mean, you're double-digit favorites in 2 games. That's saying you should win. You have very good odds to win.
Fair.
The thing that kills me, and that it's kind of like with every Texas thing I see online, and especially from you, when we talk about Quinn's interceptions, you say he's good for 1 a game. In these types of games, that's all I need to know to bet against Texas. It could be you could just have 1 bad pick that changes an entire game.
Yeah, I agree.
And so many times you say he's due for 1 a game, and I'm starting to believe it now when you say it. So in a game versus...
Has he not thrown one for every time that I've said that?
No, but
he does.
No, I'm saying, but for me...
It's concerning.
He's done it every time that
I'm saying, when you start to believe it, when you actually start to say it, for me, I'll never, even if Will Howard threw a bunch of picks, I'd never assume he's going to throw a pick. I would never say it's guaranteed. He just needs to play better. When you start to believe it, it's like, why would I bet on a guy that I know is going to turn over the ball and it could be anywhere on the field? It could be momentum switching on the 10-yard line to start the game.
Or it could be in the fourth quarter.
Or it could be in the fourth quarter to win the game. So I know one's coming. And then there's always big spots in these. Maybe games in the beginning of the year, Kentucky games, weird games that don't matter. You throw a pick, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Now it's going to really matter, and that's my worry. So I'm betting them I bet they're a contender because I think they're the only team I'll ever see be double-digit favorites in the first 2 games, probably. And they're walking the Final Four. But I don't think they're good enough to win a national championship.
Yeah, we're talking, the Clemson-Texas game, a separate episode. I would push back slightly on the walk to get to the Final Four. But I will say about Texas, look, they're one of the top 5 most talented rosters in all of college football from just a strictly stars out of high school perspective. They have 12 5-stars on the active roster. They have, I believe, 44 stars and 19 3-stars or something along those lines. They have 2 5-star quarterbacks, 2 number 1 in the class, unanimous, 5-star plus quarterbacks. And they give out Lambos for recruits. This school is on paper in video games. You do. Your recruiting game is you have 5 Lambos.
We flaunt our Lambos. We don't get.
Yeah, no, it's an NIL. It's a big business. It's
Gazy Fugazi.
We know what it is. They're extremely talented.
Exactly.
You would really think with a team like that they'd have a resume to back it up, and you'd think the way you listen to Texas people talk about this school that they would have done something worth hanging their hat on. Spoiler alert: they don't. They don't. It's the reality. They've had 8 SEC games since joining the conference. 6 of those 8 games were against 6 of the 7 bottom teams in the conference. None of these teams were good. None of these teams, being above 500. These are all some of the worst teams in college football. So that's 6 of their SEC schedule games. Texas A&M. They played a 17-7 game against an 8-4 A&M team. They were 6th in the SEC. So you could say that's a decent game, probably an above average difficulty game. And then they played, the only ranked team that they currently played. They played them twice, and that's Georgia. They lost 30-15 at home, and then again 22-19 in the SEC championship. So they have never scored above 20 points against a ranked team. In the SEC championship, they were winning when Carson Beck left the game. They were up 6-3. It was not like Georgia was winning big and the backup came in and held off the ambush that was Texas coming back against the backup. The backup came in, threw 70 yards and an interception, and led the comeback to beat Texas. Texas cannot score on ranked teams. They have not proven it against anyone. And for some crazy reason, Vegas has convinced the public that they're some insane team. Quinn was the preseason Heisman favorite. He ended the season 33rd in QBR and is debating not going to the NFL. In QBR, that's an average stat per games. He missed 3 games. I was gonna say yards, and I was gonna say he wasn't top in the yards. But I knew you were gonna come back with he missed 2.5 games. So I went to average stats. Let's go QBR on the season. He's 33rd, not top 25, not 30 in the league. There's a reason he's considering coming back for college for another year, which Texas has already said they're not going to have him back as a starter. Arch is a starter next year. This team is yet to win a ranked or important game. It's a sucker's bet at plus 360. If you're telling me Texas plus 360 is a sharp line to take, I've got a bridge to sell you in some other country you've never been to.
I'll take it.
You'll take the bridge.
Mike would love
but
the
that's
bridge.
all I've got to say about Texas. Mike, I don't know if you want to close
electric.
it out at all. I mean, I know we're talking Texas Clemson in a different episode.
Yeah, hook 'em horns. We'll talk about the game in a later time.
Hook 'em horns, baby!
Horns, baby.
I'm getting horns down.
Hook 'em horns.